So, hello there everyone, and welcome. It is Aniran here, and today it is time for me to bring you the 10 leagues and tournaments we all want to see on FIFA 20 going forward. There's a lot of leagues, okay, on FIFA, I hear that, but there's a lot of leagues and tournaments and competitions as well that could still be added, or that aren't licensed, and that we would all really welcome seeing in the new installment of the game. Now, if you go on to enjoy the video, slap a like on it and subscribe if you are new to the channel. It's the big red button under the video and it massively helps me out, and if there's any that I missed, drop them down in the comment section below in terms of leagues and competitions that you would like to see on FIFA 20. But without any further ado, let's get into number one, and we've got the Brazilian League, which technically has its clubs on the game, but it may as well not. It really may as well not, because it's not licensed. The club badges are, the club kits I do believe are, but it doesn't have any of the players on, which is ridiculous for a footballing nation like Brazil. Obviously, going into FIFA 19, we even lost the official rights to the Brazilian national team. The Brazilian League has been removed in terms of its licensing since FIFA 17, I want to say, and it's frustrating. There's so many good young players over in Brazil, so for career mode, it hurts a lot because you've got players like Paqueta and Vinicius Jr. who you're only able to use once they actually make the move to a European side, which is frustrating. And again, for Ultimate Team guys, you know, the Brazilian League held some absolute gems for your old school Brasilva sides. I feel like the removal of that league has probably taken away some of the fun of Ultimate Team and online playing, because you've lost a lot of skillful players, a lot of exciting players, and just generally a very good league with some good tradition and good history as well. Number two isn't really a league, it's more of a competition internationally, and it's the African Cup of Nations. I've always maintained EA pretty much don't actually understand that African football exists. The African Cup of Nations isn't on the game, mainly because they've barely got any national teams from Africa on FIFA in the first place. There's no Nigeria, there's no Ghana, there's no Senegal, there's no Tunisia, no Morocco. There's infinite amounts of African nations with great players that don't have any representation on FIFA. The only nations they do have from that continent is South Africa, Cameroon, and Cote d'Ivoire. So I think that is literally, there might be one more, I can't remember, but it's pretty piss poor is what I'm trying to say, and therefore you can't even have the African Cup of Nations in the game, especially in career mode like you have with the Euros or the World Cup within your career mode save. So that definitely needs to be brought to the table as well. Number three might split some opinion, especially given there's already a plethora of English leagues on the game, but it's always asked for. Whenever I do a video like this, everyone always says they would like the conference and or / even the National League. That's what I'm trying to say. I hear that, and I would like to see the conference added as well, because obviously if you're in League 2 on career mode, for example, you can't get relegated because the conference just simply isn't in the game. However, from a rating standpoint, you're going to be looking at some very low overall players if you add this league to the game, because it's nowhere near the quality of the second tier or even third tier in Germany, for example. So you're going to be looking at mostly 50 rated players, some 40 rated players maybe. Is it really going to add that much to the game? I don't know, but obviously the conference and the National League in England does have a pretty large following, so I think it would please a lot of English fans. European and world fans maybe wouldn't have the same effect, but it's still something that I would personally like to see, mainly from a career mode standpoint, rather than using any of those players for Ultimate Team, because they're all just going to be non-rare bronzes. Number four, we've got the Croatian League. Now, I mean, realistically, if it costs too much money to put the Croatian national team in the game, how much money is it going to cost to put the actual Croatian League in? But at least we've got a step in the right direction with Dinamo Zagreb being added to FIFA for this game. FIFA 20, I would like to see the actual whole Croatian League. I'd like to see more teams, generally speaking, in the rest of the world section, so you can actually populate stuff like the Europa League in career mode, because as it stands, 50% of the teams that end up in the Europa League are just randomly put in there, because you can't have your Red Star Belgrades or your Hajduk Splits or your Karabags from flipping, I can't remember where they're from. What nation are they from? Are they from Kazakhstan? Hey, who even knows, fam? Apart from people from Karabag, it might be Belarus. I don't know. The fact of the matter, though, is the Croatian League needs to be in the game. There's plenty of good players over there, not just at Dinamo Zagreb as well, but there's always a good young player coming out of Croatia all the time. time, there's someone who ends up signing for Roma or Barcelona or something like that. In at number 5, we've got the newly removed Russian League. I know why this was removed, because there was some sort of licensing thing and Konami took it, calm, whatever, it's in PES now, but I mean, it's 2019, alright? There's gotta be some sort of agreement for joint licensing on this one. The Russian League is in like the top 7 for UEFA coefficients. It's a big league as far as European competition is concerned. You know, CSKA Moscow, Lokomotiv Moscow, Spartak Moscow, Rubin Kazan, Krasnodar, there's literally so many Russian teams and good Russian players that we're missing out on. There are a couple of teams in the rest of the world section, but I think it's only CSKA and Lokomotiv, or CSKA and Spartak, sorry. I think that's it. They're the only 2 teams, I think, in the rest of the world section. Get the whole league back on the game, alright? Now, number 6 is an interesting one, and it might spark some debate in the comments as to why I didn't include other leagues, but I will mention and touch upon that in a second. So we've got the Eerste Divisie, I think is how you pronounce it, which is basically the second tier in Holland. No, not Holland, the Netherlands, I'm sorry. It's the second tier in the Netherlands, okay? And a lot of you might be saying, well, Niran, if you're going to put the second tier of the Netherlands in, why don't you put the third tier in Italy, or the third tier in Spain, or the third tier in France? The reason for that is, I'm not sure they'll ever get added. I'm not sure those divisions will ever get added because they're split up into regional leagues, so it's not just like League 2 in England is the 4th tier in English football. The 4th tier in Spanish football is like 4 different divisions split into quarters of Spain. So I don't think we'll get leagues like that at that level of the pyramid for ages, because EA just aren't going to want to put 4 whole Spanish 3rd tier leagues in. It's not just one league. They're split up so much. So the only other lower tier of a main European league that's left really that isn't in there, that's easy to implement, is the 2nd tier of Dutch football. It's got the likes of FC Twente in there at the moment. They're not even in FIFA right now because they got relegated from the Eredivisie last season. So there's some good players in there. There'll be some good teams in there as well. And I think for Dutch fans, it'll be something that's very much welcome. Number 7 is the Serbian League. The only team that aren't in FIFA that were represented in the Champions League this season was Red Star Belgrade. And I think that's a crying shame. I think they should at least get a section in the rest of the world, or they should at least have their Serbian League added to the game. It's one that creates incredible atmospheres and rivalries across Europe, especially between Red Star and Partizan Belgrade, and I think that sort of atmosphere would be incredible in FIFA. Are they going to allow flares and stuff like that and serious rivalries in a PEGI 3 game? No. But I still think it has its own place within the footballing world, and I'd like to see it respected and being part of FIFA. You know, you can never have too many leagues or too many teams. It gives everyone a little bit of choice as to what they want to do in career mode, in Ultimate Team, online. I would personally like to see the Serbian League added. Number 8, we've got the new UEFA Nations League, which I think has been causing a lot of confusion as to how it actually works, but it's a European competition, and it's a European competition where the majority of its teams are actually in the game already, or at least a decent portion of them, so it's only like having the Euros, you know? I mean, I think they should have more licensed clubs, generally speaking, or national teams, sorry, in Europe. I think they might as well try and put as many as they possibly can in. Obviously, it wouldn't have much of an impact on Ultimate Team. It is literally just, it's more of a career mode or offline thing, I would say, like the African Cup of Nations. That really isn't going to affect Ultimate Team unless they have special cards or informs and stuff for those competitions, which would be possible in fairness. Number 9 might split some opinion, but I would quite like to see it, because otherwise this whole feature within FIFA is pretty much redundant. It's the Women's Super League, so basically the Premier League equivalent, but in women's football. Since the women's national teams were added to FIFA, I want to say for FIFA 15 or maybe FIFA 16, they have been pretty much redundant and ignored. And I know it was a bit like, a lot of people were like, oh, this is a complete gimmick, whatever, but at the same time, women's football is quite a big thing, okay? It's quite a big subdivision of football, all right? But personally, I really don't see the point in even having women's footballers on the game if you're not going to have any sort of league associated at all. The English Super League in the women's game is a pretty high standard, you know? So I would personally like to see that added to the game. If not, at least the Women's Champions League, at least get all the best players from Europe onto the game. That would be equally welcomed, I think. And then finally, another European one here that does have some teams in the rest of the world section, but I think deserves its own league at this point, is the Greek League. Now, I can't remember if this has ever been on FIFA, I want to say it hasn't. It might have been really, really back in the day, like FIFA 07, FIFA 08 times. But again, there's some really good players over there, very good teams, at least 5 or 6 pretty high quality teams. You know, it's going to be as good as, say, the Croatian League or the Serbian League if it's going to get added. I think if you're going to have leagues like the Polish League, the Swedish one, the Norwegian one, which are severely far down in comparison to these ones in UEFA coefficient, I think it's only right to have leagues like the Greek one, the Russian one, the Croatian one, which have probably got more fans because they're probably bigger leagues, generally speaking. Anyway, that's going to wrap up today's video on leagues and competitions I want to see added to FIFA 20. If you've got any more, drop them down in the comments section below. I'll be happy to hear them. Whilst you're at it, slap a like on the video if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you are new to the channel. It's the big red button under the video and it massively helps me out. You can also follow me on social media these days too. My Twitter and Insta are at @theofficialfng and links are down below. But it's been a pleasure ranting at you guys today. Have a great day, enjoy yourselves, and goodbye.